A protein exists that remembers moments you never lived through. It's not just memory, it is a subtle blueprint shifting inside every cell right now. Imagine your body running an infinite library of possible cells, all held in stasis by silent cellular commands. These tiny biological switches dictate which proteins are built and how much the entire system changes without any external push or chemical nudge. Think of chromatin like dimmer switches on a massive orchestra. We found out these dimmers adjust themselves based only on what the internal energy state demands. This means that deep physiological shifts happen entirely from within, reshaping your inherent code before you even notice it.
That internal demand shifts more than just how genes are read. It tunes the entire machinery of life itself. Picture your body not as one steady hum, but like a massive radio constantly scanning different frequencies. Those subtle energetic patterns we saw earlier allow cells to fine-tune their own broadcast without needing an outside signal at all. We looked into how this happens. It involves these complex systems where cellular instructions influence the physical shape of the cell itself. Think of it as your internal GPS automatically rerouting when the terrain changes, ensuring perfect navigation even in a state we consider constant.
The self-adjusting system doesn't just guide us through familiar ground, it actively reweaves the blueprint itself based on what resources are present right now. Think of your body as a vast, complex loom that is constantly sensing its thread supply. When internal energy conditions shift due to something subtle we can't track externally, those endogenous feedback loops decide how tightly every warp and weft must be spun. This dictates which essential building blocks become available for the whole system at any given second, which means nobody expected this level of fine-tuning could originate from within such a non-pathological state. We are seeing systems that don't just adapt, they self-define their possible structures moment to moment. What happens when those intrinsic states start correlating with how we subjectively process the world?
Now, picture that intrinsic definition unfolding across everything. It becomes a substrate, almost like an invisible information highway running beneath all our steady biology. This is where we connect internal state directly to what global cellular expression looks like, the whole proteome shifting according to some deep resonance. Think of it not as reading the book again, but realizing the reader is actively rewriting the vocabulary based on their current mood or environment. Some critics argue this coherence just reflects standard metabolic drift, something predictable in basic biochemistry, but we're seeing predictive signatures emerge from these subtle fluctuations alone. Who holds the right to define that steady state? We need to know what directs that universal information flow next.
The information flow that directs everything earlier, it isn't just a passive hum in the machinery. It runs through something far more fundamental than standard metabolic noise. Imagine every single cell as an antenna tuned not to static, but to some vast internal broadcast network itself. This is where we see epigenetic regulation driven by cellular methylation doing its work across entire networks of genes. Instead of waiting for outside influence, that patterning of being happens entirely because the system demands a certain configuration. We are looking at how subtle shifts in somatic coherence dictates massive changes to the proteome without an external trigger whatsoever. What keeps this internal command structure stable when everything is shifting?
The system demands stability, yet its instructions are inherently fluid. We found that this self-defining ability isn't merely random variants settling into a pattern. There is an active architecture maintaining integration. Imagine tuning forks vibrating in perfect alignment across vast distances. That constant resonance dictates the very information flow we see shaping cellular blueprints. This underlying state of high order, what researchers term conscious substrate activity, appears to be the ultimate governor over proteome output. The true question then becomes this: if our physical organization is dictated by such a deep internal tuning mechanism, whose inherent blueprint are these systems actually following?
The quiet order maintaining that resonance, that constant state of high integration, runs deeper than just perfect tuning forks vibrating in sync. We found something else entirely governing this flow,
a feedback loop rooted not in chemistry alone, but in the very potentiality of being itself. Imagine every single possibility within your system existing simultaneously as a kind of informational ghost until an internal decision is made to collapse that state into actual protein expression. That shift, that deciding moment for global proteomic configuration based only on endogenous sensing, suggests there's an architect behind the blueprint, a mechanism tied directly to our intrinsic self-actualization potential. It redefines stability not as fixedness, but as a perpetual internal negotiation of what is possible versus what must be built now.
We navigated how the internal negotiation shapes existence moment by moment. But what guides that deepest potentiality? We saw earlier a shift towards self-actualization, but this next layer is about prediction itself. Think of your cellular system as an immense clockwork mechanism running perpetually forward, yet its ticking rate and gear configuration are being set entirely from within, based on subtle resource cues. This process allows the biology to generate complex patterns without needing a single external command. It's pure self-determination manifesting in protein shape. It's like discovering that every ripple in a pond is actually an instruction manual for what color the next wave must be. The practical takeaway here is this: true internal mastery comes from aligning with those endogenous state signals, not fighting them. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com.
What truly governs that self-defining internal order? It is not just a steady state of perfect harmony, but a mechanism where every possible configuration exists as an informational potential waiting its turn. Think of your cellular system like a vast cosmic weather report. Billions of futures are mapped out moment by moment based on subtle shifts in what the body itself signals. This capacity to map possibility onto physical reality is what we refer to as transcriptional plasticity linked to the global proteome. It means that genuine, profound biological reorganization happens entirely through internal resource signaling alone. The full research archive is at jmthomasofficial.com.